Thank you so much for that inside story on Intel tools on Android developers. With this, ladies and gentlemen, we move to our next segment. Well, our next segment says building cross-platforms apps using Intel XDK. And to tell you more detail about this, the technical marketing engineer, Intel Software, Mr. Raghavendra Ural. Can we have a big hand for him?
Okay, so we talked about NDK so far, right? Developing native applications. So I'm the odd man out here, right? I'm not going to talk only about Android. I'm going to talk about real-time scenarios wherein we need to support multiple platforms. So my topic is cross-platform application development with Intel XDK. 99% of the developers, when they start developing their apps, right, they will start with the pursuit of making money out of app development. Agree? 99%. In fact, I also had an app, right? It's called Polite Call Reject, which was a call manager app that I had. I started with the same expectation that I'm going to make a lot of money out of it. Right? I started with including some ads in it. I had a huge number of money by the time of after 2 months, I saw my ad account and I saw $2. $2 in my account. Then what I did, okay, let's try app purchase model, right? I charged very minimal amount and again posted. At that day, I called up Citibank saying that, guys, you have to increase the number range on my account from float to double or whatever because I'm going to get a lot of money, correct? Then I ended up, after 6 months, I had 0 downloads. Then I pulled it out. I mean, I'm not new here, right? Because it's a common experience many people will go through. Let's take different models that are there to make money, and Dushyant, I'm sure, is going to talk about it, right? You either sell the app, or you go for in-app purchases, or you finally go for ads, which is the last resort. You give the app for free, and you think that you will get money out of ads. So what happens is, if you have an app, right, then you need to have app with an ad. You need to have a lot of impressions to get enough money. So that means you have let's say 5,000 downloads. In fact, I had 5,000 downloads on my free app that was a Polite Call Reject. So 5,000 downloads on Android market, right? Then you get, let's say, 5,000 impressions per month, or maybe something around that. You make X amount of money. But if you live in Android alone, you will only have that 5,000 hits for your app, correct? Now, whereas if I go to, let's say, iPhone also, I'm not talking about shut down Android, go to iPhone, go to Windows Phone, right? If you go to those multiple platforms, then assume you have again 5,000 downloads on those. You will have 15,000 downloads for your app. But it's not easy. Is there any porter that can I directly port all my Java code into an Xcode? It's a tedious task for the developers to learn new technologies every now and then, right? And Windows Phone came at a later stage, right? Now, okay, let's start migrating everything to .NET and C# and whatever like that, right? Can we do that? Can we afford to do it for a longer period of time? Will not be able to do that. So fortunately, right, HTML5 came in at the right time. And now we have options of developing hybrid application which can take the native capabilities, advantages of native capabilities, but you are designing your applications on pure HTML5. Why people go for HTML5? Exactly, cross-platform. Anything else? Is it easy to learn HTML5? We have tons of editors available, right? So it always makes sense to go cross-platform, have one code base, and deploy to multiple platforms, right? So that is what the topic of my talk today is, that Intel XDK is one such tool which helps you develop HTML5 apps, take the complete support of native APIs through Cordova interfaces, which is earlier we used to call PhoneGap, right? It supports you in multiple verticals, I mean different verticals of development flow. What are those, right? You start with the development. When you are in the development, you need a nice code editor which can give you a code completion support, right? If I say window, it should tell me what all the properties, methods available, like much like Eclipse or Visual Studio, right? We need to have some such kind of tool. And we need to have a designer. We used to do it, right? I mean, we know this Dreamweaver and those kind of tools which helps you drag and drop and design your complete UI. We need that. And that makes your development simple. The next challenge that comes to an HTML5 developer is that how do you test it? How do you debug it? Earlier days, the challenges were very limited, correct? We used to have like 17-inch monitor, 24-inch monitors, and we had ample of space to display our content. Today, there are so many different form factors, correct? Different sizes, some are bigger, some are smaller, tablets, smartphones. We need to build applications which looks good on all these different form factors, plus different platforms, Android, iPhone, and many more things. So we need to have a good simulator. I cannot, as an individual developer or as an enterprise, I cannot go off and buy all the devices that are there in the market just to test my application. And you never know. You may find zero downloads after 6 months if you have a paid application, right? Because you are not sure about making money out of it. But you want to make it, that's a different thing, but you are not sure. So you can't go and have an upfront investment of like buying 10 devices. So we need to have a powerful emulator. And we need to have a way to test the application on different devices. Finally, when you complete your debugging and testing on your desktop, finally you want to go off to actual device and see how it looks. Can I query the data, a RESTful service from my device also? Example, right? Sometime what happens, you build everything works great on desktop. As soon as you move to your actual device, it will block all those calls. You'll not be able to make calls because of cross-domain issues or whatever. Can I simulate that? Whatever errors that are thrown over there, how do I get those debug information? We need a simple tool which can pass that information back and forth and tell me what is happening on the actual device. So that is from the test and debug perspective. When you want to test, you should be also be able to test on actual device. The other important aspect with respect to testing is that I don't want to push it to, for example, I have developed an application, I have 10 friends, I want to give that APK to those 10 friends to test it. That's one way of sending, and one way is to send the APK file to those friends and then they will go ahead and install, try out and give me the feedback. The other option is you put the content on a cloud and people will download it as a real app and they will test it on the application. So those kind of different options is what XDK is also offering, right? And the third and the last one is that this is my HTML code, fully tested, complete functionality is activated, everything is there. Now I want to deploy this onto multiple platforms. Correct? One code base, you upload to cloud, and another thing, like if I want to build an app for iOS, then I need to have a Mac machine, correct? You can't build it with Windows. That's a limitation. We don't have that limitation also with XDK. What happens, your code gets uploaded to a cloud server, and that cloud server takes care of building to different platforms, and finally it gives you a package which is ready for you to go and deploy into the respective app stores. Okay? So with that background, we'll start off with the XDK demo. stop me if you have any questions, or if you have any specific app question, I will be available near my booth, XDK booth. You can come over and we'll have a chat on that, okay? Okay, so this is Intel XDK, which is available in 2 versions at the moment. One, the stable version, which is available as part of a Chrome plugin. You can go to Chrome store and look for Intel XDK. You will get it as a plugin which gets attached to your Chrome, and you will be able to download and do this similar functionality, but not to the extensive of functionality that I'm going to showcase right now. Okay, so the second version, what I'm showcasing right now, is a preview version. I'm not even saying alpha or beta. It's a preview version, fully functional, but it may have some breaks in between because it's still evolving and it is reaching the beta or something in very near future. Okay, so the difference is that's a web plugin which you can open in Mac machine or anywhere. This is the Windows desktop application installable on your desktop only. Okay. So the way you get it is like you go to software.intel.com/html5, and if you go to tools section, you see the downloadable available from there for this exe. So you just have to download this, install it on your machine, and you are ready to go. Now we start with a new application. Okay, there are options. Now you can start with a blank project, wherein it just creates one blank XDK project and you copy your HTML. For example, you already have a web application. I want to put it into an app, correct? So you have a whole lot of coding done, not PHP and other things. You can only have HTML, right? You have everything done. I want to put everything into an app. So what you do, you just start with a blank project, copy the content, put it into this project. You need to have one index.html file. That's a starting point. Then everything is done. You can start using the emulator, start debugging, everything you will be able to do it with this tool. And now second is start with a demo. It takes time to load those images with this network condition, but there are some examples that we already built. What you can do is like I can go ahead and select this example and say create. It will create with that content. I mean, whatever the JS and HTML required to start off, you have all the content with you. All you have to do is like build on top of it if you want to build anything specific on a particular piece of item. So for example, we have examples with respect to like accelerometer related examples or XDK API related example. You can pick up anything and you can start off with that. Or you can pick up that one of the example and see how it works just to start off. Then you start with your own project and make use of the API calls. Next is import existing project. It sounds pretty similar to start with a blank project, but it's not exactly same. Now there are some set of applications. Okay, so there are some set of applications, it's not visible, I'll read out. If you have built an application already with say AppMobi or our previous version of XDK, or we have another tool called App Porter, which basically ports all your iOS applications into an intermediate HTML5 and JavaScript application. So your Xcode you give as an input, you get a HTML5 and JavaScript based application which works exactly like almost we have seen around up to 70% conversion rate. It properly converts into appropriate JavaScript APIs. You can import those kind of projects or any other project that you have. You just have to give a zip file. It gets imported automatically into the project. Okay, that's another option. App Starter is that it's a basic thing that is available right now on the Chrome version, where you have some basic layouts if you want to design, like navigations, or some basic controls if you want to design. You can go ahead and use this. That's a very basic app that you build using the App Starter. And the last option, what I'm going to talk today, is using the advanced app designer that is available with this application. Okay, we'll start with that. I'll call this application as CodeFest demo. To be on the safer side, I'll give it a different number. I might have practiced this multiple times, you know. So now this is the workspace where the application gets created. Now you have access to this folder. If you want to copy some content offline into this folder, you are free to go ahead and do that. Later, when you open the XDK, it will get consumed into the project automatically. Okay, and for example, if you want to have a source control connected, right? You basically connect to this folder. You can check out, check in, and do whatever you want with that folder, basically. Now I'll create this project. Now, it basically had two options, right? Code and a design. So code is basically the editor, that code completion support and all those things, code highlighting support, all those things are done. It's based on Brackets framework. And the second one is a designer. In this, what you do, we have already pre-bundled with some of the open source libraries, right? For a app framework is one such library, Twitter Bootstrap is another library, and jQuery Mobile and these things. You can go ahead and select, and it shows how it looks on various, on those particular JS libraries. So I'll go ahead and choose Bootstrap 3, select. Now this is a normal pane. I can adjust. Previously we had, as I was talking about, we had Dreamweaver, right? You design your page, open a browser, refresh, see how it looks. That was a tedious thing to do. Now here itself, you can go ahead and resize and see how it looks on multiple form factors. Now let me go ahead and put something. So what I'm basically doing is, I have all these controls on the left side, right? I just have to drag and drop the controls. It creates the page, then I'll go to emulation. Okay, this is my header, and I want to set a header value here, XDK demo. Now let's change the color to say blue. Okay, that's your header. Now you can make it fixed or floating. We will go to the detail maybe in the booth. Then, now I want to create a simple login screen here. Okay, so for that I need to have two columns, username, password on one column, and login and cancel on the other column. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a row here. Okay, in that row I'm going to put a column. So this column, I'll drag it this way because I need more space for username and password. I'll go ahead and put two input controls. Okay, now I'll put two buttons, one for OK and or login, another for cancel. Okay, now I need to show one more feature, so I'm going to put to showcase that feature, I'm going to add a list view. It doesn't have any exact significance with the login screen, but let's keep it at the moment as it is. Now let's do some styling on this. I select this. I'll say I want it on the top left corner rather than having next to it. Call it username. Then I don't want any placeholder. Okay. The font, everything looks pretty good. I don't have to do anything explicitly, or if I have to do it, I'll have to create new style like this. I go to this style section down here, select new style, control text. I call it this way, and now I have an option to change color. Let's make some colors. Okay, so I can go ahead and make those kind of changes. I come to the next control now. This should be a password control, and I call it as password. And again, this I wanted the same style as it looks like. Now let me apply the same style to it. So what it is doing is it is creating a CSS, and it is keep on copying it into a common CSS file. It's creating a class, and it will keep on copying it into a common CSS file. So all you have to do is keep referring that common CSS file and CSS class into your controls. I don't want this. And on the button, let's make it as login button. Need to be a little quick here, so I'll just give some names. That's my login. This one is cancel. I'll say danger, and it's cancel. Okay, now, so this is my primary layout that I have just now created. Okay, this looks little odd. Let's just move it around. Okay, now let's see how it looks. So on a Lenovo K900, this is how it is looking. Now, if I want to test it on, say, Razer, this is how it looks. And if I change the orientation, and this is how it is looking like. Now I have options. I can go and look at an iPad how it looks. Okay. Now let's get rid of that. See, I can increase and see how it looks on iPad, whether it is shrinking or any kind of destruction, everything is shown here. And if you see here, it shows exactly what is the pixel per inch that is used and what is the pixel width of that particular emulator that you have selected. Okay, you have tons of emulator, you can play around with that. And here, if you have an accelerometer example, right, application, you need to have those x-axis, y-axis and z-axis values. You can see it down here. So if you turn it around, accordingly, the values are passed and you can take advantage of that and simulate the accelerometer values out here. And in your application, for example, right, if I want to notify user on something, if you are using AppMobi services, right, if you can push certain messages to your app user. So if I want to do that, there are certain notifications that you can set. I'll say notify user, and when I send it, so it's going to simulate that also for you. It will send a message to the application, and you will be able to take appropriate action based on the user will be able to say either yes, no, or whatever. For example, I need to update some part of your application. Do you want to continue? Such kind of messages you can pass from the emulator itself. Okay, and by the way, this tool is free for download. Okay, with no charge at all for anybody. Anybody can download and use this tool. Since HTML5 is one of the interesting thing for Intel, because Intel focuses on a lot of open source technologies, and HTML5 being the open source, Intel want to support HTML5 developers, so they can go ahead and download this XDK and develop applications using this tool. Now, let's go back here. Now notice one thing here. When I shrink the width, it is actually shrinking the text, correct? Which is a real-time scenario. You have different form factors, and if you have designed everything for a wide screen, and if it shrinks like this, if you had small screen and if everything shrinks, you will get negative feedback from the customers or people who are using your application. So what generally people use a concept called responsive web design to tackle this kind of problem, right? Depending on the font size, it automatically wraps or it repositions or redesigns its UI through something called media query, correct? We have support inbuilt for that in XDK itself. Now what I'll do, I'll say phone is my size. Okay, I'll just increase the size a bit. Now notice what happens to those login buttons. As soon as I cross that wrap position, this is your wrap position which says 360 pixels, it goes down automatically. Now your UX guy may say, I'm not interested in moving it down. I want to put it at the, say I want to put the login button at the top. All you have to do is go to that row and say wrap from right. Now I'll go back here. You notice what happens. See, that goes up. Not only that, now I will add one more wrap point. So that's my second wrap point here. So now the wrapping happens at that point in time. But when it goes beyond this, I don't want to show that list box. If that is my design, then what I can do, I can select that list box. Okay, I select that list group and I have a show hide style. I'll say add show hide. Okay. Now here I can define media queries. What I'm going to do, I'll select this and I'll say, notice that if the width is less than 336 pixel, then go ahead and hide my list box. Now look at this. As soon as it goes beyond 336 pixel, this box is gone. I can emulate that here. Okay, let me select iPad. So list box is there, correct? Let me go ahead and select maybe Razer Eye. It is there. The width should go below certain level, so I need to have an appropriate one. Okay. Okay. So I increase the width a bit so that when it comes below that wrap point, it's gone. Now if I do this, it's back, because there is enough space to show that additional content. So that kind of designing you can do. Once I do this, now it's time to push it into a central server. So I'm going to sync this with the server. Hopefully the connection and everything works fine. In every app store, as I said, we support iOS, Windows, Windows Store and all, right? In every app store, you have an app called Intel App Preview. Is it loading? Okay. So you notice here, this one. So that's the app. Let's turn it this way. So that's the app. Intel App Preview is an app which you need to install in those respective platforms. So you need to log into your account with that. So once you log in, whatever I have deployed, right, it is available in the cloud source, cloud place for you. So I can go ahead and say, select my application and launch it. So since this is a hybrid application, it will have a container on which your HTML5 runs, and container will have access to native capabilities. So if I want to have any native access, I just have to call the container APIs. It automatically gives you the data that you are looking for. So this is built, or this is the simulating on an actual container that is finally going to be deployed, correct? So, okay. So this is what we have designed, correct? Let it come. So this is what we have designed, and you can have a look at this completely. Now if I want to do remote debugging, all I have to do is, there is a JS file here. That script, if you have to put it in your index.html file, or wherever you want to start the debugging. Then whenever you write a console entries, right, it's using that veneer tool. So whenever you write something, some console entries, right, it's going to give you the actual web toolkit or node toolkit console. You will be able to go ahead and do the console log, you will review the console log and all. So the complete control you will have with that remote debugging. Other thing is, if I want to do, I don't want to upload it into a cloud, I want to do direct Wi-Fi, because I am on the same network, right? I can do direct Wi-Fi debugging. So there is a Wi-Fi option. If I use Wi-Fi option, right, then from here, if I go to that application, there is an option to local apps, right? If I am on the same network, and if, of course, if you should not block anything from the firewall, if you are on the same network, then it shows me this app, what I am building on my device, and I'll be able to debug this application running on actual device through my XDK itself, okay? Once everything is done, then I can go ahead and deploy it into these various platforms. So it is actually, it uploads the bundle to the central server, a cloud server. Then it gives me option to go ahead and select or enter all the metadata information related to my app in the Android or iOS or wherever, right? So it's uploading everything. Let's see. So once you enter all your detail, and finally you have to say just download or generate APK and download the APK. It gives you a complete APK file. Your final job is to go and with your account log into your Play account and upload APK. That's all you will have to do at the end if it goes through. You don't have, okay, maybe for others, if you can repeat.
Yeah, so what I am saying is that, for example, you just created an application for Android and now you made some modifications and again you made the APK.
Yes.
So again you have to do this upload.
Whenever you change anything, you need to upload it again. Because everything should be on the cloud, the latest version. Then you build it accordingly. Yeah, the build is not happening. Maybe the server is down or something like that. So basically you enter all your metadata information and finally generate the build and it gives you the APK. That's all it is, and since it is not loading. In fact, we gave this demo in March 2013, this year, right? And there was 1 hour session on XDK. We talked through how you create XDK and all. And after the session, when I came back to our booth, we had an interesting visitor to our booth, and he was able to navigate through XDK without any issues. He was easily dragging drop things and he was navigating through the XDK, and I was watching it. I didn't go and ask him what you are doing. He is a senior most guy I saw developing an application on XDK. And later I came to know he already developed application on various, he already have an experience of developing applications as a web or C# and things like that. And I would like, he is here today. He's a senior most guy. And I would like to call him on stage. His name is Sagar. Sagar, why don't you come on stage? Can I have a mic? Okay. So Sagar, what class you are studying? Where, which standard you are in?
5th.
So, can you tell me your experience on development? What all you develop?
I develop C# websites using ASP.NET.
Okay.
I'm developing one
Okay.
using Microsoft Visual Studio.
So perfect. Give him a big round of applause. You know, Sagar is 5th standard guy, right? And today, it's so easy for developers to pick up things. It's made so simple to develop applications. And Sagar is developing applications for his school. That's what he told, right?
Yeah.
For his school, he is developing an attendance kind of application, correct?
Attendance, adding marks,
See?
and adding diary also.
See, he is developing applications, and why can't we develop? We have been doing this for quite a long time, right? He is a 5th class student, right? He can develop, and we also can definitely develop.
Not an application, but a website.
Website can become an application. You use XDK, it becomes an application, correct?
But I'm connecting to the database.
Okay.
Can we use XDK to connect to a database?
See, kind of questions. Yes, you can. I'll show you how to do that.
Okay.
Okay? Yeah, thanks for coming. Yeah, thank you. So looking at his passion for technology, we invited him to this Code Fest as well. Right? You never know. He might develop a great application by end of this Code Fest as well. Okay, and that's all I had for Intel XDK today. Still the build is going on. So we'll see if it completes, or you can step by to my XDK booth. I'll be around. If you have any questions, I'll be very happy to clarify them. Okay? Yeah. Thank you.